You are on the rant couch where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Azone, who says, please rant about opening monologues. Personally, I mostly hate them and used to just put it in a category of telling rather than showing. I would always feel like there had to be a better way to convey this information, but the opening monologue at the beginning of Mobile Suit Gundam doesn't actually bother me, so clearly there's a way to do these right. What do you think makes for a good or terrible opening monologue? Ooh, this is interesting because I love the opening monologue at the start of Mobile Suit Gundam, and I definitely think it is a lost art in a way where, like, if we're talking about like a sci-fi show or one that has like some kind of political backdrop that would be really difficult to show you at length and would be easy to just summarize in a few paragraphs, I think it's a great way to go about things. I do think, like, for me personally, growing up, I zoned out of those things. Like the Star Wars opening crawls, for instance, I didn't read that shit. That's a lot of fucking text. I don't give a fuck. And I don't know what they're talking about yet. But it really depends on how engagingly written it is, how well it communicates the information, not trying to give you too much info at once. I have seen shows where they just try to, like, for instance, an example might be the To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. The opening monologue of that show, I just didn't have enough of a sense of like what even the fuck is this world before it dove into telling me about like the political stuff going on. And there's names that are confusing and weird. Like, I hate dumb fantasy names. I hate fucking having to learn the names of all these fucking kingdoms and all the bullshit different. Another example of that might be Final Fantasy 12, where that game opens with this cutscene that's kind of showing you what's going on, and then there's a narration that like explains what you just saw and what the consequences of it were. That's an okay way to handle it. It definitely gave me a better grasp on what was going on, but at the same time, again, there was all the dumb names and there was a lot of it. I think the best way to do an opening narration is if it's like telling you the most interesting important stuff and showing you the events. I mean, I guess a big part of what makes the Gundam narration work so well is that it's kind of guiding you through human history up to the point where we're at, giving you all the necessary information. It's like, okay, humans went into space and we formed space colonies. The people who were in the space colonies decided they had a problem with Earth because they, basically taxation without representation. We want to have our own rights. We want to have our own, I don't know if they were actually, if it was exactly like that, but they wanted their own rights, and so they go to war with the Earth. It's been a big, bloody battle. They dropped a colony on the Earth, causing like a third of the population to die, and now we're in the aftermath of that, where we're basically in like a post-apocalyptic situation on Earth, and this war has gotten really fucking crazy. And so, like, not only does it guide us from, like, the present up till the moment that we're at, but we understand the motivations of all the people involved, not just what they did, but why they did it. That's probably the biggest thing. It's probably just like, if I hear about two kingdoms are at war, and one of them's taking over the other one, and like if they just said, oh, they're vying for power, it's just like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But like just the fact that like we can immediately we empathize with the idea that Xeon wants their own rights, but then we're also horrified by what tactics they have used in their war. So it's like immediately there's moral grayness on both sides. Just from the description of the backstory. But then also the imagery used is very vivid and colorful and beautiful. The colony drop scene is iconic. It's just a fucking really well done exposition. And the worst opening monologues are, of course, the main character just monologuing about their worldview. I hate that shit because the worldview is always some mopey fucking teenage douchebag cockamamie retarded outlook on the world that you would only have if you were 15. Like, it's always some all or nothing ridiculous fucking stance, like, oh, this is how the world works and this is how everybody is. I fucking hate that shit. Obviously, in most of those cases, the whole point is going to be about deconstructing the way that they look at the world, but it's like, I don't care, because I already know it's wrong. Like, if I watched the show and felt like, oh, wow, this kid is exactly like me, that's how I see the world, then maybe the story could do something to me long term, but, like, No, it's always just obnoxious. I'm thinking of like Hachiman from Oregairu. I hate that character. The main guy in what's it called? The fucking show I compared to the Ashes War, Chivalry of a Failed Knight. I don't hate him, but like I hated that the opening monologue is him like talking about, this is what this is how the world works. You got the people with the talent and the people who have to work hard, and it's just like I hate oversimplified worldviews and characters just monologuing about them. Like, just that is something you could definitely easily show me. You could show me that in 5 seconds via interactions with other characters. Like, I really don't need. There's no need for a monologue from the character's perspective when you can tell me everything about a character just by how they communicate with other people, how they carry themselves, what kind of things they say. So yeah, like if it's something that is summarizing a lot of shit that would be difficult to show, but it makes it interesting, I think an opening narration is a great idea. But in a lot of cases, it's just an annoying, shitty writing crutch.